Good morning and welcome to Miss Liz's Tea Time. This morning I am joined with the beautiful Jordan Guildford. She is the CEO and founder of Gems. So I will bring her into the studio and she can give you guys a little bit more on what Gems is, and we'll bring some awareness to that beautiful foundation.
Hello.
Hi, Jordan.
Hi.
And the stage is all yours.
Okay, so I'm just going to take this opportunity to explain kind of the basics of Gems and how we got started and where we're headed. So Gems began in 2015 as an idea to be able to help women in shelters see themselves on their own radar again. So it began with our first initiative, which was our jewelry drive. And that first Christmas in 2015, I had a goal of being able to collect 25 packages worth of jewelry, and we have 3 to 5 items per package. So I had only 3 weeks to go before Christmas by the time we started collecting. And I was so hopeful that we would be able to get that 25 packages because one of the local shelters had 25 women in it. And I wanted to be able to do something for all of them. However, in 3 weeks, because the women of Calgary rallied around this, we were able to collect enough to do 436 packages, which was just amazing. Like it blew me away. So I knew, yeah, it was amazing. And it was amazing too, because the recession had just hit. So people were starting to lose their jobs, go down to one car, houses were sometimes coming on the chopping block. And yet the women of Calgary understood that this group of women needed what they could give more than they needed it. And they came out in droves to be able to support this, which was so exciting. So basically, we knew that we wanted to keep doing this. The first Christmas, it was just my husband and I at our kitchen table, packaging them and delivering them with our kids. And so anyway, we wanted to keep doing it, but I didn't want to have to keep rallying people every Christmas. So I wanted to be able to keep the momentum going. So I started doing motivational events for women in the public, but to raise awareness for women in shelters. And we were successful. We had great turnouts, but I felt nothing at all. And events like they take quite a bit of work.
They do.
Right? So to feel nothing from that, I was like, something's wrong. Yeah. So basically, I kind of went back and I thought to myself, if I'm doing it to raise awareness for these women, why am I not doing it for these women? So that changed everything. I went back and I came up with what is now our Thrive series. So it's a formula that's the same every single time. We have an accountant speak on financial literacy. We have a speaker from the public come and speak on resilience. So someone who's overcome a lot and has created a beautiful life for themselves. Then we have self-defense. And that's actually Safe for Life that we partnered with in Calgary for that with Lorna Zelling. And she's amazing. And with the self-defense, the primary focus is on preventative self-defense. So how to break out of holds, safety planning, that type of stuff. So not on hand-to-hand combat. Although you could definitely teach that. And then we also have a psychologist speak on psychological coping skills as well. Yeah, and financial literacy by an accountant. So it's kind of a 4-pillar approach. And the idea is that with those 4 pillars, they were carefully chosen because those are addressing the 4 main areas that a lot of times women look at the next phase and feel overcoming those obstacles are insurmountable. So we wanted to be able to give them 4 pillars to be able to build the next foundation on for the next phase of their life. It was from the very first one that we did, it was the best thing that I've ever been a part of. It was incredible. All I do is introduce people. And between the women who are there to participate and the women who are there to present, magic happens. Like it was just spectacular. So that was our second initiative. But as we continued to do this, usually around the self-defense time, women would start asking questions like, what do I do when my kids are in the room? What do I do when I've been hit first? What do I do when I'm cornered? And what I realized was so many of them were asking these questions in preparation for returning to their abuser.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that kept coming up, and it was heartbreaking because they were already out and their babies were already out. So I did a lot of research around the why that is, because obviously no mother wants to put their kids in harm's way. No mother wants to be beaten. No, like all of this. So what was it that, like, what was the X factor? So what I discovered was that there were two main X factors. And it was, I mean, it's obviously a very complicated situation. There's plenty of other reasons that often go into it, plenty, and they're horrendous. But the two main ones that universally seem to be affecting most women was the lack of self-confidence and the lack of financial independence. So with that knowledge, I put my thinking cap on, and I said to myself, I want to be able to create a sustainable and actually viable option for women to be able to leave an abuser and then actually see that next chapter on their own as possible.
Yeah.
So I came up with our scholarship program. And
wow.
Yeah, so prior to our scholarship program, we were a registered nonprofit, but not a charity. And the reason for that is that we were entirely volunteer run, and we just didn't need it. Like any refreshments at the shelters when we did our Thrive program was just either the shelter helped us or each of the volunteers brought some. Like it was very, very doable. But I knew as soon as I came up with a scholarship program that I was going to have to get the public helping us, because I mean, each scholarship is about $11,000. So we wanted to be able to do, because the thing is that with the group of people we're working with, it doesn't help them if we give $500.
Yeah.
It doesn't help them if we give $2, because $2 may as well be like $2,000 may as well be $2 if they don't have the rest of it. So the whole point of our scholarship program is to be able to partner with schools who will give education in a year or less, so that the women can get in and get out as quickly as possible. And the other really cool thing with schools, so it's usually colleges that are designed to complete in under a year, is that the way their curriculum is broken down, every few weeks or so, a new chapter is completed. And what happens with that is that the woman gets a win. So every single time that chapter's finished and she passes it, there's another boost to her self-confidence. So when she graduates, she has the financial means to be able to look after herself and her children, as well as now the self-confidence that has been building literally on a bi-weekly basis. And that's something that no abuser can take away.
Yeah.
So we also have an ambassador program that's over 100 women across Canada, men and women actually now across Canada.
Oh, wow.
We've included men as of last fall. And the wonderful thing with that is that we really had to, because there were so many men coming to us wanting to be able to help and make a difference. And the bottom line is that Gems for Gems really believes in leading by our actions and being the change we want to see. And to me, we can't create sustainable and lasting change unless both sides of the equation come to the table actively.
And that's where the Be the Change clothing line came in, right?
Yeah. So we have our swag line, and it's all Be the Change. And because again, we want to be able to inspire people by our actions. That there's a lot of talk happening, and not the action that certainly needs to be there. So we want to be able to do our bit to show that everyone can do whatever they can, whenever they can, and be part of making the change that we need to see.
Oh, cool. So for the scholarship, Jordan, is that done through the schools themselves? Do they?
So that's a great question. So prior to this year, we were working with the shelters to be able to get women who had left domestic abuse, and we're hopefully going to be in the right mindset to be able to take this opportunity. And it was good. We definitely had referrals, but the problem with that group of women is that there are so many things in front of them, so many obstacles, that going back to school, it is a much smaller percentage in that specific group of women that would mentally be ready for that type of challenge. And it's even with a 10-month program, it's a 10-month program. It's rigorous. You have to figure out childcare. You have to figure out how are you going to make a living doing all of it. Like there's a lot of challenges, despite how great an opportunity it is. But the specific people who will be able to make it work is a smaller percentage of that group. So what we've decided to do is we're specifically targeting grade 12 girls now.
Okay.
The exciting thing about that is it's exciting in a heartbreaking way. By the time a grade 12 girl graduates, 25% of her graduating class will report having survived some form of domestic abuse.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and the problem that we're seeing here too is that is the tip of the iceberg, because incest rates are quite high. And where there's incest, they won't report it because the people still have access to them. So they're scared. So the rates are much higher than that, sadly. But the exciting part with GEMS is that if we're focusing on teenage girls, we're getting in the front of the cycle before hopefully it becomes a cycle. So it has been a traumatic event for them as opposed to being a lifelong cycle and not knowing how to break it. So,
it's hard to break. As a survivor, it's hard to break.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah, I was in 29 shelters before I was like, it's enough.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? So this firsthand, like the mentality that it would take to be able to go out and launch yourself into school. It's a great opportunity, but it really takes stars aligning well. Yeah. But grade 12 girls already have that in their mind that they're going to have the next phase of education. So we're now working with people who are already thinking like that. However, our scholarship program is and will always remain open to all ages. We're not closing that at all. It's just that we're specifically trying to be able to get in front of the younger girls so that we can hopefully stop the issue from perpetuating.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing how much, is hidden behind closed doors, right?
This is the thing, when we first started doing our Thrive series in the shelters, people were like, oh, that's really great. That's nice of you to do that. What type of things do you see? And, I would immediately go to, well, it's heartbreaking. Sometimes, sometimes there's newborn babies, sometimes all this stuff. But they were more asking, is it homeless? Is it drug use? Is it like, what are and what I would say to all of them and what I still say today is that it's us.
Yep.
You, it's me, it's all of us, because the bottom line is domestic abuse doesn't know any boundaries. It doesn't know any economic difference. There's no discrimination when it comes to abuse. Yep. And the other thing too that's really important with our organization is that unlike the rest of the sector, we call it domestic abuse as opposed to domestic violence. And the reason for that is that we see violence as one point of a spectrum. So one point on the spectrum of abuse. So when you say domestic violence, immediately people think of a woman crumpled up, bleeding, hurt, babies seeing that, hospitalization, all of that. And where all of that definitely happens, and it's happening more and more, which is so sad. What is also highly prevalent is emotional abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, leveraging, everything. Like there's so many other forms of abuse that what's happening is if we only focus on violence, and people say violence is abuse. Yes, it is for sure. But when you say violence, you are not saying emotional. You are not saying financial, because violence is physical. Period. And it is one point on the spectrum. So it's super important for us to acknowledge every point of that spectrum, because so many times women who have experienced both emotional and physical abuse would prefer if it was all physical, because then they can heal from that. And it's the emotional stuff that gets in your head and is so, I don't know what type of abuse you had, but
I had it all. There's so many different types of abuse out there that people don't realize, right? And when you're married to someone, and the generation cycle as well, right? Because that's what you know, so that's what you do, right?
Oh, totally. History repeats itself, because the bottom line is, when it comes down to it, we're animals, right? And we're going to repeat what is comfortable for us. And even if it is harmful to us, it is still the known, and therefore psychologically it is our safe place, because it is a known space. And until we can interrupt that, which is what we're trying to do with focusing on young girls, and also being able to show women that they can do it through our Thrive program, until you can interrupt that pattern, it will only just keep repeating itself because it's instinct.
Yeah.
That's what people really fail to understand too, is that there's so many pointing fingers, so much blame game, and it is instinct when it comes down to it. And when we do our self-defense component, Safe for Life brings their big blue man, and it's amazing. He's a big padded guy, and any volunteer who wants to be able to come from the audience can go crazy on him.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's amazing. It's very empowering.
Sometimes it's nice just to get it out, right?
You know what? It's like, I mean, I've done it, and it's like you're like at the end, like it's a big rush. But what's also very interesting is that the instructor will say, when you're grabbed, yell. Like your biggest asset in this type, because it's preventative self-defense, right? So we're not talking about when you're intimately at home and all of that. What we're talking about is giving women the tools to be able to go through society and feel safe and know how to handle situations if unfortunately they come at them. So the instructor will always go over first, be loud, move a lot, hit a lot, all of that, like flail. Anyway, 9 times out of 10, the first thing the volunteer does when she's grabbed is silent.
Oh, wow.
Silent. Yeah. Silent. And she knows she's safe. She knows she's not actually going to be in danger. She knows she's actually in control of the situation, yet instinctively
go silent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So that to me is so powerful, an example to show people. Sorry, my cat's come up here. Show people that how instinctive it is, and how when you're in that situation, there's not that choice that you think you have.
Yeah.
Right? We still come down to being animals, and in that situation, you are a victim of your body's reaction to something.
Yeah.
As much as you're a victim of whatever that horrible human is doing to you.
Well, I noticed that you had mentioned 2 things. You mentioned
sorry.
You had mentioned self-confidence and financial situations on the 2 main reasons why women return, right?
Yeah.
Being a survivor, I am completely 100% with that, because for me, my return was always financial situation, or because that was what I was taught to do, right? Was to stand by my man no matter what, right? And we need to understand that we're stronger than what we think, right? Because for me, many years, it took me years to get out of a very abusive relationship. There was a lot of mental abuse. There was a lot of sexual abuse. There was a lot. And once I left, my confidence, it kind of lowered after leaving. But then through therapy and through group sessions and that, I realized that I was strong, and I mattered, right? So, and that's the reason why I asked you to be on the show today, is because I want to bring awareness to all of the abuse that I've been through as a person as well. And by having these amazing organizations and foundations brought to light, that there is people out there that do care. Because when I left, I felt I was alone. But by knowing that these organizations like Gems for Gems is out there, it makes a difference for us women. It shows us that, we're not just a number. We're not just a label, we're not the wife or the property. Because the word obey or I own you, I dislike those words, because it takes a lot of confidence away from a woman, right?
Oh, yeah. And it's incorrect too, right? No one owns anyone. You, like, the bottom line is you are your own person, and you have the right, the God-given right, the birthright to own your own life and your own reality. And when someone tries to take that away from you, again, instinct, it's often self-preservation. And there's nothing to be ashamed of with that at all.
Yeah. And I love what you're doing with the organization. You're growing, right? You're not just staying one spot. You're actually growing. And that's nice to see as well, because that shows us as survivors that we can grow as well. you know,
I love that you said that. That's lovely. I've never thought about it like that, but that's beautiful.
yeah. And for me, I see a lot of messages in life, right? Like I meet people for a reason. It's either for a lesson or a blessing, right? And some of the lessons are really amazing lessons, and some of them are hard lessons, but it teaches us that there's different people out there. There's different, it all walks of life. It's like you said, there's no category that does not get abused. There's white, black, yellow. Everyone gets abused. There, you
Mhm.
know, it's like with mental health, right? It affects a lot of people. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share your beautiful organization. And if there's anything at all that I can do for you, Jordan, with Gems for Gems, don't be shy. Reach out. I
Thank
do
you.
connect. I do knock on doors. I am an advocate for abuse and grief and mental health. So anytime you need, if you have any ladies or any ones that have amazing stories that have come from a hard life and are doing amazing today, I'd love to have them on Tea Time.
I would love that, and I will put my thinking cap on and see what I can do for you there because um, some of the women that we've worked with are still in hiding, so that obviously wouldn't work out very well. But there's
Yeah,
other women who are further along and who I think would feel really empowered by what you're doing, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. I'm a big believer in the fact that most people, if they can't do something really, really, really huge, they'll do nothing
yeah,
and I mean I look at Gems. Like Gems is a testament to just do what you can when you can. You know, it started off as a jewelry drive. I wanted to give 25 gifts. You know, like that's it. It was just an idea, and it was an idea that other people liked too, and we just kept answering the call as opposed to having to push it along. It was very much a calling
yeah,
and I think people need to answer their own internal callings and not stop themselves if they think that something is too small because there's no such thing as too small
yeah,
ever. And I think you just have to like what you're doing is actioning on a dream you have and actioning on an impulse and a calling, I think too. And
yeah.
it's beautiful. And I love it. And I'm so happy to be here today.
Yeah, for me, it's tea, right? Because
Yeah.
growing up, my grandma always told me, my great grandma from Germany, she told
Mm-hmm.
me to reflect on life, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I drink my cup of tea, I reflect a lot. I look at the tea and I know that there's a message. Um, for me, tea, there's always a different cup of tea. There's not one cup of tea that is the same. Whether you drink the same tea every day, each cup is different. In the temperature of the water, the size of the cup, the how long you brew that tea bag. If you keep,
Mm-hmm.
each
Mm-hmm.
tea is different, and that's what I do at Tea Time. Is I show the uniqueness of everyone. We're all different, and we all shine differently, right? And it's
I
not about
love that.
spotlights or anything. It's about making a difference. And that's what I do. One cup at a time, I make a difference. And I show that anyone that joins me and joins Miss Liz for a cup of tea does make a difference. Whether you reach one person or you reach 100 people, you're making a difference. So,
Yeah, no, I agree with that fully. I think this is beautiful.
yeah. So since we're on tea time, is there any favorite memory you have of tea?
Oh, I with my husband actually. My husband's a big tea drinker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I actually converted him to coffee for about 3 years during our university time, and then he went right back to tea. I Tommy always has tons of different teas, so we mix and match them and customize the taste to us. But yeah, teas has a nice little spot in my life too with my husband, and we just have it Sunday morning and chill, chat.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah. There's
So when
something
you
there's an experience with tea. It's nice.
exactly the tea
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
That's what I tell people. People are like, "Well, what do you get from tea?" And it's an
No, there's
experience
an
every time.
experience. I
Yeah,
agree. I agree.
awesome. So, is there anything else you'd like to share about Gems for Gems that we haven't brought up?
Well, we're always looking to be able to increase our impact. So obviously, we're a charity. Funding is always fantastic to be able to get that type of support. But we also have our jewelry drive. We collect all year round, so people could send their jewelry into our post office box, which is listed on our website. And our website is www.gemsforgems.com. The other thing too is that we have our swag store and we do ship nationally. So yeah, so if anyone would like to, we have every size. We have all kinds of different things. We don't have any pants. It's just all tops, and it's all the Be the Change stuff. But we have some jewelry as well. The jewelry is, one of them is a collaboration with a company called Stitch Plus Stitch, and they're one of our ambassadors. So it's a wooden piece with string stitched in our gem symbol. It's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're beautiful, very affordable. Another one that we have is the Hilberg and Burke collaboration piece. So that's a beautiful silver necklace with our little logo on it too. So yeah, take a peek at the swag store, and yeah, just pitch in wherever you can. And primarily my biggest message is be brave and be the change, even if it's in a little way.
Awesome. Thank you for saying that. What I'll get you to do is after the show, if you can put in the comments the website and anything else, the store for the swag, and I'll get it out there. I do share not only on Facebook, I share on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So if you have any of those pages, I will tag you in, and I will send you this link so you can share it and you can get it out there. And if you have anybody that would like to be on Tea Time, send them my way and I will set it up.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. So with that, I'm going to say this is the end of this Tea Time, and thank you for joining me. I do have a guest coming up on Thursday. It is Kevin Rivette. He will be sharing his story on mental health and struggles and how music has saved his life. So be sure to check that out. And then next week, I have Angie Sikla Seymour. She is a mother agent who scouts for stars. So she is the lady who signed Ryan Gosling. So that should be amazing to have her on. And then I have Charlotte Howard, who I have co-authored in one of her books that is being launched March 10th. So yeah, I have amazing lineups. So I do reach out, and my door is open to anyone. Men, women, and children, because we all do make a difference one cup of tea at a time. Thank you, guys.
I love that.